In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I received a lovely letter from my life insurance agent last week, encouraging me to switch from my existing term life policy to a whole life policy. I wasn't sure what to do. If I understand this correctly, and Bill, I'm counting on you to keep me straight, term life premiums are cheaper, but the benefits expire when you turn 70, right? Or 75. Whenever. So basically, once you get to a certain number of candles on the birthday cake and you blow them out, that's all gone. Whole life policies, on the other hand, don't expire, and they also act as an investment vehicle, but the monthly premiums cost significantly more. You can see my dilemma. Confused about the best course of action, I did what any sensible person would do. I looked on the internet for an app that would tell me when I was going to die. The first computer app told me that my day of demise will be July 6th, 2030, at the rather early age of 58. I took that as an indication that I should stick with my term life policy and start working on my bucket list right now. But don't mark that date in your calendars, because that app was free and therefore could not possibly be accurate, right? So I then purchased an app for 99 cents, which makes all the difference, because that app gave me a more generous lease on life. May the 27th, 2053, just under a month shy of my 81st birthday. I like that one a lot better. So in an unprecedented move, go ahead and turn on your smartphones during worship right now and plug in May 27th, 2053 as day Michael dies, because I won't be around on the 28th to remind you. Of course, between now and then, I could be struck by lightning or crushed by a meteor or perish in any number of ways. So I would advise against calling your bookie to place a bet on this. It all sounds a little silly, I know, but there's a long history of this sort of prediction making, especially when it comes to the end of the world, which I think we'd all agree is a bit more important to most people than the date of expiration on Michael L. Delk. The most prominent date right now for that big finish is currently on or about the 21st or 22nd of December, 2012, depending on how you read the hieroglyphs on the Mayan long count calendar. Dozens of books have been written about this, confronting us all with the problem of whether or not to buy people presents for Christmas. Of course, if the world is ending before Christmas, I suppose you can buy everyone you love a Porsche, because you will not be receiving your January credit card statements in the mail. I like the Boxer convertible, silver. Of course, sometimes it certainly does feel as if the world is ending, and that quite soon. A rocket from Gaza nearly landed in Jerusalem just a few days ago, the first time in decades a rocket has come that close to the holy city. In response, Israel has mobilized 75,000 reserves. Iran continues to work on obtaining nuclear weapons. China and Japan are playing a very dangerous game over a few rocks in the sea. Closer to home, a fiscal cliff looms, pressing people to hope against hope that denizens of Washington will somehow form a more responsible government, hopefully before January the 1st. There's still plenty of people who need work, and many who worry about their retirement savings and whether or not they will last. More and more folks seem to feel isolated and confused and threatened. Whether it is the slow spooling out of events on the global stage or the day-to-day grind that wears people away, we wonder if there's going to be an end in sight, and if so, what that end might bring. Many turn to the Bible including the words of Jesus in the Gospels to figure out the when, the how, and the what. And in a few places, Jesus indulges us, though only in the most generic terms. Mostly, he warns us, beware that no one leads you astray. Many will come in my name and say, I am he, and they will lead many astray. Where you hear of wars and rumors of wars, do not be alarmed. This must take place, but the end is still to come. Jesus is downright cagey about the topic, in one place claiming that he himself does not know the time of the end. In fact, considering the proportion of time Jesus spent on the end time, I would say Jesus appears largely uninterested in the matter. We would be wise to heed him well. Now, we are called to await eagerly the return of our King, when all will be set straight. But to obsess over it robs us of too much. Other preachers might disagree with me, arguing that we ought to be focused on nothing else but the end time, lest we be caught in a lapse at that last crucial moment. That is a gospel of fear, my friends, not a gospel of love. That's playing the salvation sweepstakes, not living a life of faith. Those claims and anxieties are dead stones of the temple. Their fate is to be disassembled. God has created us for glory. God has created us for much more. In the meantime, we have the meantime. A time that need not be mean, either in the sense of it being uglish and selfish like Penaniah, or average and pedestrian, but simply a time in between what has been and what will be. Indeed, the meantime is all we are ever given, and God, through his holy word, encourages us to treasure it well. No time for nostalgic musings that Photoshop the past instead of honoring it for what it truly was. No time for grandiose plans of conquering the future, a realm with more variables than we could possibly anticipate, much less control. What we are given is this present moment. All we need and nothing more. This present moment, the most recent arrival from a future that quietly and quickly slips into the past, often before we notice it. And that's a shame, really, because there is so much potential in this moment. In each moment, we can find peace in God's forgiveness, bought at great cost, yet freely given to all who seek it with earnest hearts, hearts yearning to forgive and to be forgiven, humble enough to receive that forgiveness. In each moment, we can be aware of our radical freedom, a freedom ironically granted to us by a man taken captive and trapped in a grave for 3 days. And in that free moment, shackled neither to the past nor to the future, we can experience the grace of choosing, knowing that Jesus chose us first, and that in each and every moment Jesus continues to choose us so that we might be free. In each moment, we can yield to hope in the future, despite our fears, because the present moment we are in just came from that future, a future we have neither earned nor deserved. That moment arrived out of nowhere, a gift of God's mercy. Consider that today. Try to be aware of every moment. Are you at peace in that moment? Do you feel free in that moment? Do you feel forgiven and ready to forgive? Do you feel hope in that moment? And if you don't, why? Consider this moment that we have chosen to share together. What are we doing here? What are we doing as we worship? Are we fulfilling an obligation? Are we performing a duty? Are we seeking something like an uplifting emotional experience or simply fellowship the joy of seeing and being seen? Or do we come here to be rather than do? To simply be in the present moment in a way that we rarely ever are? Are we here to be in the landscape that Christ has created for us? Are we here to enter, as the Archbishop of Canterbury describes, the atmosphere that Jesus has provided, where we can celebrate the goodness and the holiness of the one who gives us life moment by moment? You know, someday they will stop coming. In 18 years, or preferably 41 years, or in 2 hours from now, the moments will stop coming. Those moments from the future that are made real because we are here, but more importantly because God is here with us in the moment. Distressing as it is to look on a computer screen at a month and a day and a year, graphically inscribed on a tombstone with your name on it, and wonder, well, who knows, that might be right. As distressing as it can be to parse the news or the scriptures or a block of stone from Central America, these moments are but the beginning. That is the promise that we have from Jesus of Nazareth. For the promise made by Jesus time and again is not about a final end, but for an eternal beginning. An eternity well beyond the calculations of the most clever computer application, exceeding the comprehension of the most intelligent scholar or the most intuitive mystic. And it is in this faith, our faith in the promise of Jesus, that we find our hope, our peace, our joy in the moment, our ability to savor that precious moment given to us and give thanks for it. No matter how many, no matter how few may remain.